Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm back, and I'm back right after doing the Urdu podcast because there's some updates regarding Imran Khan's cases. As you know, they tried to trap him with almost 200 cases. It went past 170, and they tried to spread it out between murder cases and embezzlement and the treasury and every single thing they could think of that they could fabricate against him. And the good news is that today, basically, all of those cases have been thrown out. Thrown out in the sense that technically he's been granted bail. The civilian judiciary system, I'll call it civilian because we're going to now talk between the martial courts and the Supreme Court and High Courts. So the Supreme and High Courts have totally, basically, disregarded these cases as bogus, and they say that there is nothing. There is no chance of even an arrest in the forget the near future, but even in the far future as far as they're concerned. And they want that these cases be stripped completely. And whereas the martial courts are, like the army courts are concerned, the military courts, it is simply that he was granted bail there as well. Now, as usual, Maryam Nawaz is screaming through her different minions in the government, making them complain on her behalf as to why it is that he is being facilitated. See, this begs the question, actually. The question that the public wants to ask Maryam Nawaz is, who exactly is being facilitated? Maryam Nawaz, who has no political status, no standing, no position, and yet she's using every single facility of the government, of the intelligence agencies, of the establishment of the army. She is giving orders. In what capacity? This is something I've been questioning from day one. In what capacity is she giving orders, and in what capacity is her is any other department or institution within the government listening to her orders? Number one. Number two, Nawaz Sharif is being facilitated. He's in England. He's not coming to Pakistan because he is literally reforming the constitution to completely revoke his disqualification and to make him qualify once again to be the fourth to be a prime minister for the fourth time, which, as we know, in our original constitution is illegal. And according to our constitution, you cannot become prime minister more than twice. But this man, this son of a bitch, has become the prime minister three times, and the third time is when he worked with Zardari to change, to make a reform in the constitution so that he could become prime minister for the third time. And now, once again, these people are trying to work out ways to reform the constitution. They have even signed those reforms as far as they're concerned, and they passed them. They passed the bills. They passed whatever it is that they needed to pass to ensure that he is qualified once more, and that any embezzlement cases, they have basically tried to strip embezzlement cases, that no politician, no incumbent politician should be charged for embezzlement. But yet they are trying to charge Imran Khan for that same embezzlement, which he never did in the first place. And that is one really pathetic and hilarious part. Plus, they actually tried, because the president of Pakistan was in Saudi and he was on his way back to Pakistan. As soon as they found out that he was on his way back, they asked the acting president, who was basically just a temporary replacement until the president himself came back from his tour or his trip, whatever you like to call it. They asked the acting president to sign the ordinance that could enable them to basically arrest Imran Khan on the treasury case. And that a-hole actually did it, because obviously he is, his duty is to please them, to lick their asses, to secure a future for himself. And basically what he did was amanat mein khiyanat, very honestly. So he didn't even have the basic decency or courtesy to remind them that he is in no position and he has no authority to sign anything on behalf of the president. He's just an acting president for a few days. But anyway, it doesn't matter what kind of an evil planner you are. There is no bigger evil or good planner than God. He's both the biggest planner, the biggest schemer, the most cunning being in the world. After all, he created us. What do you expect? So he just shredded it all, up. These pigs, their house basically just got, how do I say, their house just got destroyed, it got burnt down, it got blown down. So the pigs are now crying wolf. What can I say? Seriously, I'm just, I'm mixing metaphors here because I really don't know what else. I'm trying to control. I think you can see, I'm just trying to control my language here. I just don't want to start swearing at them or use explicit language right now. That is why, I'm kind of out of words here. So basically, their plans got thwarted again. In other words, Imran Khan once more has come out quite successful, but we. This is not a time to celebrate, as we know. Yes, Imran Khan has again called for peaceful protests. Yes, people are coming out for the protests and everything, but obviously, it needs to gain momentum. It needs to force the world to, to stop feigning ignorance. It should force the world to pick up their hypocritical strain about human rights, because after all, as we know, the Western governments are hypocrites. They only remember human rights when it pertains to their own national interests. But if it doesn't, then forget human rights. For example, nobody's talking about the human rights violations in Kashmir, in Indian occupied Kashmir, because India is essentially an ally of the Western governments, similarly, and one of the biggest markets. Similarly, nobody's going to talk about the human rights violations in Palestine because, after all, those violations are being funded essentially by the British and the American governments. And it was created by the British government in the first place when uh, they kind of evacuated a lot of the Jews from Europe and sent them to Palestine and said, okay, make this your home. I mean, who are you to tell them to make this? Who are you in the first place? This wasn't even your land. But I mean, this is how they've been doing, So, again, if it is a certain country in Africa whose resources they want to steal, they will suddenly have a problem with human rights over there as well. If it is China, they will have human rights problems, human rights violations. But what I mean, you can see the sheer hypocrisy here, that there is this, I'll call it group for the want of a better word. It's called Awaz, right? They supposedly are supposed to be, the voice of the unheard. Okay, they're supposed to or be the voice of human reason, human nature, of even nature, or of environment, of anything that goes wrong. Basically, they have been very vocal when it came to Putin, and they became very vocal when it came to other countries. But strangely, I have not received a single email from them asking us to sign a petition regarding the illegal government in Pakistan, regarding the human rights violations, regarding the forced kidnappings, the forced disappearances. Sorry, that's the technical term. The forced disappearances of politicians and journalists. Nobody sent me a letter asking me to sign a petition or on the sexual harassment of women, and no, nothing. And I even emailed them when they send me about the bees. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure I can sympathize about the bees, but tell me, when are you going to actually talk about Pakistan and what's going on here? And zilch, nada, nothing. Suddenly all was silent. This is the hypocrisy of these so called groups and these so called governments and these so called civilized countries. Because, as I said, they actually borrowed civilization from our ancestors. We lost it, they borrowed it. But you see, at the end of the day, none of us are better than the other. We're at the end of the day, we're all equal parts hypocrites. So I would just suggest again that Pakistan basically has no future and no hope as long as our people will continue to think that it is okay to be substandard, it's okay to use substandard things, it's okay to be dishonest, it's okay to be corrupt, it's okay to look for shortcuts, it's okay to covet what belongs to others, it is okay to be jealous, to show envy, it is okay to have inferiority complex, it is okay to have no moral values, it is okay to no longer teach your children the essence of shame, about having a conscience, about knowing what's wrong and what's right, about knowing about helping others get justice, you know. No, I mean, in Pakistan, people, the mentality of the people of Pakistan is what resulted in today. Okay, whether you like it or not, this is a fact. It's a fact. It is that rotten mentality, that rotten desi mentality that has led Pakistan to this day. And unless and until Pakistanis do not change that rotten mentality, these characteristics, these qualities of theirs, I'm sorry, but Pakistan still does not have any future. I mean, seriously, what kind of people do you think they can be in this country? That, I mean, you know, when I say, I've said this a few times already, that this illegal government, when they say that they are the real representatives of our people, in a way, they're actually correct. They're right. Because they really do represent the greed, the selfishness, the narcissism, the shamelessness, the lack of conscience that our people have. They do represent all the bad qualities of our society, of our country. I mean, the fact that, you know, lying is as breathing to our people, they actually are a perfect reflection of that. I can give you the example that on a bigger stage, if you look at it, the fact that the murder case against Imran Khan of that lawyer in Quetta, now imagine that lawyer in Quetta himself cited that he should not be sent to Sibi. He should not be given cases in Sibi because he's got enemies there and he's in fear of his life. And yet they still do that. And then his family members have very openly and again repeatedly stated that he was killed due to a family feud. But the government is telling the family members, no, you are wrong. He was killed by Imran Khan. You don't know anything. So his family members don't know anything. Our government sitting here, it knows everything, right? I mean, this is, just imagine how blatantly our people can just lie on the record. And that is all I have seen in this country for the, you know, it's been almost 3 decades that I've lived here, give or take, because I have spent a few years again abroad when I went back, you know, because believe me, those of us who are born and bred abroad, living in Pakistan is like living in hell. It's a fact. And each year was worse than the other. So I actually left and I was just dragged back by my parents. And very honestly, I can never forgive them. And I will never forgive them for that, for dragging me back every single time and forcing me and trapping me to live in this godforsaken country. Because every single year, this country has been worse. Its people have been worse. And as I said, I predicted this doom 12 years ago. And I still will predict that Pakistan has no future. I do not see any future for Pakistan. Why? Our people. If you really want change, you need to change yourselves from within. The fact that you think that we should lower our standards because we're living in Pakistan, and we should understand that these things happen. We should understand that dishonesty is a part of life, and we should understand that having no moral value is normal. I mean, to imagine that it is that people are actually very blatantly saying this to your face now, that, you know, it is Pakistan, so you need to understand. Why the shit should I understand? And what the frack should I understand? Why? In fact, you should understand that you are wrong, and you should understand that if you call yourselves Muslims, then you cannot live like this. You should understand that technically, legally, you're not even Muslims, because the very foundation of Islam has been contradicted in your daily life. The fact that you are saying that we should understand that, okay, if it's okay for, if we should understand that we need to lower our standards because we're in Pakistan, then you should also understand that we do not want to pay you then for those standards and those services. You want us to pay you international rates for products and for services and for everything, but you want us to understand that it is a given that we should get substandard products, and it is a given that we should get substandard quality items, and it should be a given that we should get substandard quality services. Seriously. I mean, I have heard this so many times, and in the past too, like I heard it again today and I heard it yesterday, and from two different people. I mean, and they're both of them accepting that they're wrong. They're accepting the fact that they have not met the standards as per requirement, especially considering how much payment has been made to them for those services or for those products. And then they have the gall to tell me that because I'm living in Pakistan, I need to understand that this is part of it and I need to get used to it. If I need to get used to substandard quality, then you need to get used to people never paying you, then you need to understand why Pakistanis don't want to pay you for anything. And that's another thing. Pakistanis have completely wrong priorities. They have money for fashion, they have money for anything that they can show off. And again, Shabazz Sharif is a perfect reflection of that. Nawaz Sharif was a perfect reflection of that. This orange train, this stupid thing that they created, this project, which cost us three times more than the underground project, the underground subway project that we had years ago in plan, which would have covered the whole city. This orange train covers only one line. Literally, it covers just one line of the city, and it cost three to four times more than the original budget of the underground subway. But Nawaz Sharif had to show to the world his orange train. Yeah, underground cannot be visible. It's not visible, and orange train should be visible, and that is why he created the orange train. Forget about the kickbacks. Actually, obviously, he did that all for kickbacks, but and he used substandard materials that the engineers from China, when they came to get their part of the job done, they immediately refused, saying that the whole thing could collapse anytime, and unless and until the framework is not done once more and with using better materials, they are not going to proceed with the project, right? Then, when he did his green bus scheme, again, he put us in debt for no good reason. And those buses don't even, I mean, most of the time you don't even see those buses running, right? And again, as I told you recently, what they did with the bypass, you know, I mean, imagine that these people, just for show, and to earn haram, haram money. I mean, a nation that has no concept of halal and haram, a nation that does not even know that if you, or care that if, even according to Islamic law, according to business law even, and business ethics and etiquette and the code of conduct, if you are, for example, here's a small example, even if you're selling fruits to somebody, even if you've given them 10 good fruits, but out of them you have given them one rotten fruit, what you have earned from that is haram. Why? You have cheated your customer. You have given him seemingly 10 good fruits, but one of them is rotten. You cheated your customer. He has paid for good fruits. You gave him one rotten fruit in between, and you're trying to justify that. You cannot justify that. It's haram. It's the fact that Pakistanis do not even have that concept of haram and halal. They don't even know, and they don't care. You know, this is how you court your own doom. This is how such countries, let me tell you very frankly, countries that have no dignity, no self worth, no principles, no discipline, they cannot exist. They will always cease to exist at one point. Always. And that is why Pakistan has basically ceased to exist. And plus, what is this pathetic thing that they've started about the dollar rates? Seriously, look, the dollar rates increased superficially. They are decreasing superficially as well. Like, who the hell are you fooling? You're manipulating markets so that you can buy dollars, and then you can again once again just increase its exchange rate. Is that what you're doing? I mean, what the hell are you trying to do? You're trying to make a fool out of people. I mean, first you're saying that, you're just basically, every single thing that you're doing is hinting at the fact that your masters are the US, and that Pakistan is officially now the colony of the US. So, welcome to Pakistan, colony of the US. Why don't you just start issuing us green card? Pay us in US dollars, okay? Since you expect us to start paying you people in US dollars if we plan to go for Hajj and all from next year onwards. So, why don't you start paying us dollars, and why don't you just give us a green card? Since we're the colony of the US, why don't you just, give us the US passport too? I mean, let us just enjoy the privileges of being American citizens already, yeah? I mean, frack you people, seriously, frack you people, manipulating markets like that just to force people, to put them in a state of panic and force them to sell their dollars so that you can just grab all those dollars. And then once again, I mean, come on, if even now people do not understand the kind of blatant, um, you know, uh, what we, if it was stocks, you would call it stock shortening. I mean, that's basically it. It's the same pattern. So I mean, that blatant shortening that you're doing here in the market, that blatant manipulation, if people still even don't understand, I don't know what, I mean that they really deserve to be made fools of, seriously. And in our country, you can't even trust the banks. If you can't even trust the banks, then what the hell can you can't trust the government. You see, that's the whole point. You can't even trust the government. I mean, they're so openly committing treason. They're so openly committing blasphemy at the same time. And they're actually trying to charge Imran Khan for these two acts. I mean, they're the ones committing blasphemy. According to Maryam Nawaz, her father was supposed to be the prophet. The way she, and if you, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but in some of her speeches, she actually talked about her father giving him the same status as a prophet, Nauzubillah. And then at the same time, and now suddenly Zardari wants Bilawal to be called Qaid Azam, and he wants his daughter Asfa to be called Fatma Jinnah. Frack you people. You're traitors. You're descendants of traitors. You are those people who were awarded feudalism by the Brits. And then when these Brits went, you couldn't lick their asses directly anymore. You started licking their asses indirectly, just because you wanted to keep your power. The only reason you people are in power is because of those Brits whose asses you licked as traitors. If anybody needs to be charged for treason, I mean, this is something that I have always had a problem with Imran Khan's government, that for frack's sake already, charge every single one of them for treason and good riddance to bad rubbish already. But he never did that. He never did that. And they're talking about how, seriously, the way these monkeys danced, and the way they paid mainstream media to work with them on anti-state elements, and the way they worked against the elected government of Pakistan, and so openly, so blatantly, never has anybody been given that much freedom in any democratic country, believe me. The amount of freedom that they were given, and that was my one of my biggest problems with Imran Khan, and not just mine, but actually all the everybody's, really, the public. One of the biggest problems was that Imran Khan has allowed his enemies to come on TV to literally buy off the mainstream media, to buy off journalists, to blackmail judges, to blackmail everybody, to use them blatantly, against Imran Khan, to go against Imran Khan, to go against the people of Pakistan. He should have really put his foot down. He should have censored them. Right now, they're illegal, and look at them. They're censoring everything. They're censoring everything and everyone. Now, if Imran Khan had just become a little more strict instead of being so lenient and giving everybody unnecessary freedom, he should have secured, first of all, his government. He should have secured a two-thirds majority by dissolving the assembly as soon as he came. And then later on, that would have in itself fixed everything. But even if he couldn't have done that, he should have at least made sure to, control these people. I mean, they were so blatantly committing treason, and he just let them get away with it. And all those acts, all those criminal acts and treasonous acts and those blasphemous acts that they committed, they very neatly tried to, you know, put it all on him. They just dumped it all on him. And every single thing that he worked for in his government, they're now trying to take credit for. Typical Desis. Now, that is why I say they're a true reflection of a typical Pakistani. Well, this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.